Hello and welcome to That Man. That is me merchandise and I am incredibly unwell, which is why we're talking about Cells at Work again. Cells at Work was one of those titles that everyone seemed to love when it was airing, and then immediately forgotten about when it ended. Taking place inside a body, it not only entertained but educated us of the cells and their roles in our body. Now, I really enjoyed Cells at Work when it aired, and I enjoyed my little stint with the manga last year. I still haven't actually bought the rest of the volumes physically. I did buy them digitally, however, and when I was buying them digitally, I did notice that there was some spin-offs, including Cells at Work Code Black. Now, in the original series, everything was kind of up to code, everything was maintained. There was a few major hiccups like the character getting cancer or getting some really bad nasty stuff. However, pretty much everything was sorted out through the power of teamwork. But think, that was a body that was well oiled, that was a rather healthy body that just had a few setbacks. I think it was like a poorly child or a poorly young person that the person lived, like the cells all lived in. However, what if the body was completely not maintained? What if it was a person who doesn't look after themselves? They're overstressed, they smoke a lot, they down themselves in alcohol, they're losing their hair, they've got erectile dysfunction. That's what Cells at Work Code Black really covers. Now, if you enjoy Cells at Work, I would really recommend checking out Cells at Work Code Black. The reason being is that, well, it covers the things that Cells at Work didn't really cover. Like I said, Cells at Work was kind of, it was quite a positive experience about how the cells at work will combat all of the viruses in the body. However, this covers a lot of stuff that maybe you as an adult are kind of going through. I mean, I don't smoke, but I mean, I do drink every now and again. I am quite stressed out with obviously long shifts at work. And there's a few things in here that you might kind of feel that relate to you a little bit more. So this has everything more or less swapped from Cells at Work. All of the red blood cells are male rather than the original one where they were male and female. A lot of the regular cells are like old women and angry moms and stuff like that. And all of the white blood cells are female. And all of the killer T cells are incredibly old, barra, muscly guys. It's kind of like if Cells at Work had a seinen makeover. But that actually really managed to work in its whole appeal. Rather than kind of having this whole positive outlook where it's like everything's just going to be okay, this one, the cells are kind of being worked to death. When you think about it, no matter what job you're in, you're probably not doing as much work as the cells at work are doing, and this is a very bleak outlook on life. They know that the body is not acting the way it needs to be, and yeah, it's rather interesting in the way it kind of goes on. It's like, well, we're going to work ourselves to death, but that's our job, and yeah, it's a rather weird outlook. I did enjoy this, probably about as much as I did enjoy Cells at Work. It's one of those spin-offs that is pretty much equal to the main series. Kind of like My Hero Academia Vigilantes, where it kind of tells different parts of it, but it's standalone as it is. You don't need to have seen anything else to get into this one. And I really enjoyed the way a lot of the stuff was portrayed. For example, the first one is all about smoking, so all of the cells are getting killed off by the smoke, the carbon monoxide that's going into the body. They're just getting killed off and stuff like that. The second one is about alcohol and liver poisoning, in which we discovered there is actually a strip club in your liver. I mean, I've never looked inside my liver, so I can only assume that that is true. And it shows how the alcohol has an effect on your body, where it's just like, oh yeah, your heart rate's going up, blah, 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 and then it's just like, I feel ill, this is not good for us. And it shows how, because you are over drinking, you are actually killing all the strippers in your body. You monster, stop drinking. Another one is erectile dysfunction, where they're just like, yep, get yourself in there, he's He's trying to get himself erect, and they have this whole incredible mission, and they're just like, yes, the sperm cells, they're gonna go to the egg, and then someone's just like, not necessarily. That's not what they're necessarily being used for, and they've got this little hopeful thing of the sperm cells just like going towards this light, and then it was just like, yeah, if you've seen the Panty and Stocking episode, you're probably going to have an idea of what's going on. The next one is a gonorrhea invasion, where it becomes infected and all of the white blood cells get tentacle raped by gonorrhea. Yeah. And the last story in volume 1 is about hair loss, about overstress, and how the killer T cells are fighting against hair, so you lose your hair. I really enjoyed my time with Cells at Work Code Black. It was one that I wasn't sure whether or not I would enjoy. I was like, kind of like, well, it's a spin-off. Technically, spin-offs are kind of like, oh, you need to have seen the original stuff, but no, this really worked, and I would see it if you aren't sure about Cells at Work, or if you have seen the Cells at Work anime and you want something more. I would definitely pick up Cells at Work Code Black, especially if you're kind of more into the seinen kind of stuff rather than the shonen kind of things. Each of them are both absolutely fantastic. However, there are 2 more Cells at Work spin-offs. That's right. We've only scratched the surface. Next up is Cells at Work and Friends. That's right. What happens when a killer T cell who is so macho he can't show off his friendly side wants to have friends? That's the plot. It's essentially Cells at Work meets Komi Can't Communicate, however not nearly quite as good. The artwork was quite weird on it. It was very more shoujo inspired. In fact, Cells at Work is the shonen, Cells at Work Code Black is the seinen, then Cells at Work and Friends is potentially the shoujo. Now, it is quite a weird one, whereas Cells at Work kind of has it as a whole factory-like setting, a very efficient factory, and Cells at Work Code Black has a kind of a polluted, horrible industry. Cells at Work and Friends just basically has it as a city. Yeah. The cells just go about their normal day like you would. It's just an ordinary city. It might as well just be any other series, except it's kind of got a Cells at Work skin on top of it. And you know what? It was kind of okay. I mean, I found it weird that it was kind of like, oh well, Cells at Work, they've got phones now, and they've got ransomware. Because, of course, electronic viruses are the most important thing, the most wary thing that your body needs. And yeah, I kind of just felt it was kind of just something else that was using the Cells at Work name. I mean, if it was kind of like a doujinshi, which kind of I felt that it was, like a fan comic that they've just kind of just stuck together and kind of made as an actual official thing, yeah, fair enough. But no, this one was kind of like, yep, it's Komi Can't Communicate, except it's Cells. It's a guy, it's a killer T who can't show that he just wants to have friends. And yeah, it was okay. It wasn't anything medicinal about it. It was just kind of like, oh, this is what he's trying to show that he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to go for hot pot, or he doesn't want to go have drinks with his friends because he wants to be a loner. Finally, we have Cells Not at Work. And you do not want to read this one. Honestly, I got about halfway through the volume and I just gave up with it. The artwork was pretty ugly, and to be honest, I was genuinely bored with it. If you kind of think Cells at Work is kind of a whole thing where the body's ticking along, Cells at Work is Friends is kind of like the day-to-day life of Cells, and Cells at Work Code Black is being overworked, this is just Cells just sitting around doing nothing. Literally, that's the thing. And then someone going, you need to get a job, and I'm just like, you know, I was like, I genuinely don't care. It spent far too much time just trying to explain random things, and then I was just kind of like, I still don't care. And I try to read up my entire volumes of stuff. I mean, it's only 150 pages, but if something can't get me through one volume, I would easily see it's something that's not worth reading. sadly, that's kind of the way some spin-offs are. I mean, we've got some really good ones, and we've got a middling one, and we've got one that should absolutely not be read under any circumstances. I mean, maybe you might like it, but I certainly was incredibly bored by it. So, the moral of the story is, check out Cells at Work Code Black. Give Cells at Work and Friends a try. Just don't go anywhere near Cells Not at Work. Don't do that at all. But this has got me thinking about stuff. I mean, my cells get through a lot of tough scrapes. They could do with a nice relax and thing. How do I thank my red blood cells? How to thank your red blood cells. Red blood cells aren't real people.